fall in the space between what remains of me in this reckoning. Either way, I will bow to the things of this world. And I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire, standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding what power set me free, there is a grave that holds nobody. Now the power that lives in thee, and I can see the light in the darkness as the dark is bound to live. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between witness. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and I am here to give my Torah testimony. I'm a scribe, so I write everything down. So I will be reading my testimony. When I wrote my second book, The Truth About Lies, I encouraged my readers to take a moment and capture their thoughts. I decided to accept my own invitation to do the same. Before each new year, I ask Yah to give me a word to consider, a word that anchors my thoughts and sometimes directs my study. For 2023, I heard the word remember, zakar in Hebrew. So I'm remembering a few things that have come to mind as I take a moment to capture those thoughts, and here they are. The way I live my life speaks louder than my words. To order my words is to order my life. The purpose of speaking or writing is communication. Speak plainly, ask questions. I'm responsible for my own spiritual knowledge. Those are my thoughts initially. What I'm sharing in this Torah testimony is my understanding of what the scriptures say at this point on my journey. I've also learned over the years that when I run across a profound statement or a quote, I need to save it. So I jot it down in my journal and put a copy of it in a folder titled, you guessed it, Quotes to Save. Occasionally, I review what I have in that folder just as a refresher. Here's one that speaks volumes to me at this time. Quote, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." I'm learning, unlearning, and relearning so many things at this point in my life. Revelation 12:11 says that we overcome him, the adversary, by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of our testimony, and by not loving our lives unto death. So this is my testimony titled Two Voices, Yah's and Mine. So here I am taking a moment and capturing those thoughts. And in doing this, I'm sharing two voices, Yah's voice and mine. I'm inviting you to leapfrog with me through the decades of my journey to land on 4 milestones. Milestone number 1, I've titled Confirmation. 1964, I found myself one morning looking out the little window on the back door of our mobile home and crying out loud, "If you're up there, please do something." That was my voice. For you see, I was just 17, married, one baby in the crib, another in the womb. I knew nothing about Yah at that time, not even if there was a God. It was a cry of complete desperation. And even though I knew nothing about Yah, he knew something about me. Because a few weeks later, I was invited to go to a little Baptist church in our town in Wyoming where we lived. And after attending for a few weeks, I responded to the invitation to, quote, come forward and trust Jesus, unquote. The pastor prayed for me, and after the service ended, one of my high school friends approached me and said that she was so happy for me and that she and her family had been praying for me. I told her that I wanted to come forward before, but just was too nervous to do it. It was then I heard this: that's a lie. I was shocked. The voice came from inside me. It was not condemning me, but instructing me in a gentle way, because it was true that I hadn't really heard the invitation before that very moment. This was the first of many times to come that I would hear Yah's voice. This was the first something that I was aware of that Yah did in response to my cry. There would be many more somethings. And I'm so thankful that I heard it. It was my proof, my confidence that something had really happened to me. I have not been the same since that day. Acts 16:31 says, believe on Yahusha Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, and you shall be saved and your house. I have been believing and trusting in Yah's word, that word of Yah's, since that day, not always living like it, but having it in my heart. And I believed it not just for myself, but for my house, which at the time included the father of my 2 babies. Milestone number 2. I've titled it Misunderstanding, and I'm jumping 2 decades, 1994. Of course, there were many, many things that happened during those 2 decades between Yah and me. Many of them I've written about previously. If you've listened to the book I wrote and then read on Fiery Faith, The Truth About Lies, you know a lot about me. This milestone may seem inconsequential to some, but it surfaced while preparing this talk, so I believe someone out there needs to hear it. I was sitting in another church, in another town, in another state, having gone through another divorce and having 2 more children at this point in my life, and I heard Yah's voice again. Quote, I want you full time, unquote. Yah's voice. I got it from where I was sitting and went into the ladies' room. I was shocked again. This came seemingly out of the blue, as they say. How can this be? I'm a single parent with 2 grown children out of the nest, and I'm a full-time college student trying to get a degree so that I could support the 2 children still left at home. What does this mean? I want you full-time. I didn't understand what Yah was saying, but I took the only action I knew to take. I went to the registrar's office the next morning and withdrew from school. If I was supposed to go into full-time something, I had no choice, did I? Well, I wandered around for 3 years, working at this and that, and then getting back into college to finish up my bachelor's degree in 1987, finally, after 17 years. At the time, I didn't know what that was all about, but I have since learned that I misunderstood what Yah was saying. He wants all of me. He wrote it plainly after he spoke it plainly in Deuteronomy 6:5. You shall love Yahuah Elohecha with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. He wanted all of me. Milestone number 3, I've titled it Exploration. I had just gone through my 3rd divorce. You see, I'm skipping much, and was flying to visit one of my adult kids. As I sat waiting for my flight, I got a call from a dear friend who was wanting to know how I was holding up. When she asked me where I was, I replied, I'm at my gate. But what I said after that astounded me because I had not consciously been thinking these words. This is what I said, quote, this girl is on a journey to find out who she is. Now, that statement may sound comical, coming from a 68-year-old woman who was facing having to start over again and again, but that's what I said. The funny part was that I was no longer a girl, But the sad part was that I was having to find a new way forward in my life, and I had no idea what that might look like. But is it not written that we create the fruit of our lips? That what we call those things that be not as though they were? Milestone number 4, explanation. About 2017 or so. Remember, I'm on a journey to find out who I am. I did not run across the following brief statement in a book or in a passing conversation. I heard it as a still small voice of Yah, seeming, as they say, out of the blue again. I was house sitting at the time, just walking down the hallway, and this statement stopped me in my tracks. Nothing is as it seems. For you see, I have learned over the nearly 6 decades of my relationship with Yah to know his voice. And he is still answering my heart's cry by continuing to do amazing somethings in my life. When Yah spoke those words to me, nothing is as it seems, I believed him. These words literally stopped me in my tracks, and I sat down right then and there and asked him, nothing? I was not questioning him. I was just trying to comprehend the magnitude of his words. Really, I was not questioning him. A few days later, I received a call from one of my grandsons who asked me about what I knew regarding the pyramids and aliens and mud floods and giants and many other things I had never heard of and had no answers for. He had been searching the internet and had come across some very strange things, or so I thought at the time. I must be honest here. If I had not heard from Yah that nothing is as it seems, I would not have been able, I don't think, to walk with him through his searching. I praise Yah that he opened my heart in a new way, and for the next 1.5 years, we searched together and talked several times a week. After some time of searching, we found ourselves on the Parable of the Vineyard website. Adam was reading from a version of the scriptures I'd never heard of, the Sefer. But when I saw it, I knew that something was stirring. I went to the Sefer Publishing website and ordered 2 copies of this translation of Yah's word, one for me and one for my grandson. I've had many translations over the years, but this was different. Remember, I'm searching for who I am in Yah by listening to his voice. I have some topics under this category, and this one is the truth, topic number 1. The truth has always been important to me. I've written about truth over the years, even expressing that it was like the air I breathe, so necessary for me, vital, really. When I read in the Sefer that the Ruach Emet was the spirit of truth, I was so excited. I'm studying yhvh, ancient Hebrew, to better understand the scriptures. This has opened a whole new world for me, and I'm suffering it on. I am searching and learning by taking the class on sephiracademy.net. John 14:17 reads as follows: even the Ruach Emet, the spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it sees him not, neither knows him, but ye know him, for he dwells with you and shall be in you. Somehow reading and hearing the Hebrew word for truth did something inside me. It seemed like a stepping stone to my quest to discover who I was created to be. John 15:1, Mashiach, the Messiah, said this, and in the Sefer it reads, I am the vine of truth. And John 15:5 in the Sefer reads, I am the vine, ye are the Natzarim, the branches that abide in the vine. We can know these words on one level, then Yah takes us to another level and another level, which seems to never end. I made a note in my journal that echoes back to my heart's cry to know who I am. As believers, and this came to me without really thinking about it before I wrote it, and then I saw it. As believers, we don't know who we are until we come to Torah. And is knowing who we are the first step in helping other believers to see the Old Testament differently than what they've been taught? I made a note in my journal, yes. And my search for the truth intensified, and I'm hearing him. I'm hearing him. At Mashiach's baptism by John, we read Yah's voice again, and lo, a voice from heaven saying, "This is my Yahid, my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased." Matthew 3:17, Yah's voice. At Mashiach's transfiguration, we read, "Behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, 'This is my Yahid, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him.'" Matthew 17:5. Note again, it's Yah's voice speaking. I heard that, not for the first time, because I've been reading the New Testament for nearly 6 decades, but I heard it in a new way. Hear him. And we know that Messiah said many things that we have recorded for us, but these are a few that helped me to continue on in my journey. Out of Luke 24:17. And beginning at Moshe and all the prophets, he, our Messiah, expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. Think about that. He expounded out of Moses, and the prophets, all the scriptures, the things concerning himself. Luke 24:17. This is a key point for me at this juncture in my journey. I'm taking note that at the time of the writing of the New Testament, and this has been a revelation, what they had in their hands and what they refer to as the scripture was the Old Testament, the Tanakh. The writers of the Besorah, or the New Testament, the Good News, were living it. Paul echoes this too. He expounded and testified the kingdom of Elohim, which is a Hebrew name for God, persuading them concerning Yahusha, Mashiach, the Messiah, both out of the law of Moses and out of the prophets from morning till evening. That's in Acts 28:23. Again, he expounded the scriptures about Messiah out of the Old Testament. I'd spent very little time in the Old Testament. And by the way, whoever titled it that seemed to be saying, without saying it, that it's no longer applies to believers. That was my understanding. Now I'm reading it with new eyes in search of not only who I am, but who Messiah is. John recorded these words of our Messiah for us. This is out of John 14:15. "If you love me, guard my commandments. He that has my commandments and guards them, he it is that loves me, and he that loves me shall be loved of my Father, and I will love him, and will manifest myself to him. If ye guard my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have guarded my Father's commandments, and abide in his love." John 15:10. Remember, Yah said, "Hear him." Messiah guarded his Father's commandments. So I began to listen with new ears to hear Messiah's words. He said, "My food is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work." John 4:34. Doing his will and finishing his work, not starting something new, having his commandments and guarding them because I love him. On these two commandments hang all the Torah and the prophets. Messiah's words recorded in Matthew 22:37-40. Just FYI, the Hebrew word for Torah is instructions. This is what Paul told Timothy, and remember that what he calls all scripture, what he had in his hand was the Tanakh, the Old Testament. 2 Timothy 3:16. All scripture is given by Ruach Elohim, the Spirit of Yah, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. And Messiah's two commandments contained in the 10 Commandments, I didn't know. I had to look them up. If you don't know the 10 Commandments, You should maybe look them up too. And I had to undergo a paradigm shift in order to read the Old Testament with new eyes. And this is a key also, I believe. The Torah instruction is to be understood by seeing the underlying precepts through the eyes of the Besorah, the New Testament, and through the Messiah's mind of forgiveness. I had to keep that in mind as I read. What are the implications for my life today, knowing that what is first natural and then spiritual? When I began to search for what Yah says about who I am, I came across the word Yasharel. Paul writes to the believers. Listen to this in Galatians 3:6-7. Even as Abraham believed Elohim, and it was accounted to him for righteousness, know ye therefore that they which trust in faith, the same are the children of Abraham. So as children of Abraham, we are grafted in because we are of his seed. We are either of his seed, as in the 12 tribes, or we are those spoken of as sojourning with them, grafted in by adoption. Remember, Abraham had Isaac, then Jacob, whose name Yah changed to Yasharel. We read it as Israel in most of the translations. That's Yasharel, or Jacob, is where the 12 tribes came from. Note, the land of Israel is not the people called Yasharel. Yasharel is the identity of all believers in Messiah. Paul wrote to believers, and we have it recorded in Colossians 3:11, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Messiah is all in all. I have found who I am. I'm Yasharel. This girl has found what she was looking for, her identity in Yah. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not Jewish. I'm not a Catholic. I'm not even Christian in the sense that the church has become a business for the most part. My search has led me to the narrow way, through the straight gate, onto the ancient path, wherein the good way is. And while those in times past have said, we will not walk in it, I have said, yes, I will walk in it. Check it out in Jeremiah 6:16. I have found rest for my soul because Messiah's yoke is easy and his burden is light. Matthew 11:29-30. I'm a child of the one true Elohim through my trust in his beloved Son, Yahusha Mashiach. My Creator has given his instructions that lead to life, both abundant and eternal. You can read all the blessings listed for obeying his instructions, his 10 commandments, his Torah in Deuteronomy 28. So just so you know, I'm acutely aware that I look through a glass darkly. I know nothing yet as I ought, and I only know in part. But I am thankful to Yah for this journey so far and plan to continue learning, unlearning, and relearning from his word. I'll leave you with this. It's Abraham's first recorded prayer. It's found in the book of Jubilees, chapter 12, 19, and 20. My Elohim, El Elyon, you alone are my Elohim, and you and your dominion have I chosen. And you have created all things, and all things that are the work of your hands. Deliver me from the hands of evil Ruachot, who have dominion over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from you, my Elohim. And establish me and my seed forever, that we go not astray from henceforth and forevermore. You recall that I cried out to Yah to please do something when I was 17 and had one baby in the womb and another in the crib. Oh, all the some things Yah has done in my life. Today, my seed numbers almost 60, 4 children, 13 grandchildren, 23 greats, along with spouses. And I'm still trusting him that I will be saved and my house, Acts 16:31. So there you have it. the words of my testimony up to this present time. Shalom.
שערים וינשאו פתחי עולם, וינשאו פתחי עולם. שאו שערים, שאו שערים, שאו שערים וינשאו פתחי עולם, וינשאו פתחי עולם. Fling wide, you gates. Fling wide, you gates. Be lifted up, you everlasting doors. Be lifted up, you everlasting doors. I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. And should I fall in the space between what remains of me and this reckoning, either way I will bow to the things of this world. And I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fight, standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminded what power set me free, there is a grave that holds nobody. Now the power that lives in thee, and I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between rested. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us.